Good morning, everyone. Um, so we are on the last part of collection of data chapter. We have done the most of it. Now we are covering the last few topics in this video. I hope you have watched the previous videos of this chapter. Otherwise, you'll not understand this one. So go through the previous ones first. Now I will briefly mention what we have done and what we are going to do today. In this chapter, collection of data, we've learned what is a data, why do we need it, what is primary data, what is secondary data. Then we also learned what are the methods of collecting primary data. Okay, there are 5 methods that we learned, and the fifth one that we did was the questionnaire method. Now in the questionnaire method, there were 2 ways of getting the questionnaires filled. One was through email, the other one was through an enumerator. Now we will also be learning today that how a questionnaire is to be formed. Let's say it is supposed to be mailed or it is supposed to be filled through an enumerator. What are the questions, what are the kind of questions that you must use, and what are the precautions that you must take while framing that questionnaire so that it is simple, crisp and effective. Okay, apart from that, we will also learn what is a pilot survey. I will explain in detail, and in the end we will understand the sources of secondary data. There are majorly published, unpublished sources, and then 2 important sources of secondary data also, Census of India and NSS. So what kind of data do they collect, and how does it help the economy? Okay, so these are the topics that we will be covering today in the session. So this is a small topic that I am covering first, which is a pilot survey. Now pilot, as you know, the word means the person who is basically controlling an aircraft. He can see what you can't see, right? They're the first one to encounter whatever is there outside, whether it's a thunderstorm or whether it's a clear sky. Similarly, here also, when we frame a questionnaire, we want to see its um, impact before others see it, and for that we need to conduct a pilot survey. That means we need to basically do a rehearsal. That's kind of a pre-testing. Let's see how it works with our audience. Are they able to understand the questions? Are the enumerators able to explain the questions? Are we getting the right kind of information? Right? Is it really suitable for a particular area? Or what are the problems that we are facing, so that we can fix those problems and then go ahead with the live start of the questionnaire. I mean, properly having a questionnaire in the market. So before that we will be conducting a small test of it. So it will be on a small number of people, of course a small population. We will conduct this survey. We will have a questionnaire ready, we will have the enumerators ready, we will also have the respondents ready, and we will see how the respondents are giving information to the enumerators and how the enumerators are extracting information out of the respondents using that questionnaire. Or we will also analyze that which questions still needs some change, and what else can we add to the questionnaire so that our information is even more rich. So this pilot survey is a pre-test conducted on a small scale before starting the main survey, right? Like I told you, before having the proper questionnaire live, we need to have a pilot session done. Then especially it is done after the questionnaire is ready. It helps in getting a rough idea of information and suitability, right? What kind of information are we getting from the people, or is it suitable for the particular segment of people that we are targeting? Is it suitable for them or not? Then it also helps in determining the shortcomings or the problems that a questionnaire might face in the near future. So instead of having thousands of people complain over a question, let's have a few people give an honest feedback so that we can correct it before it gets messed up. And the last one is it assesses the performance of enumerators. It really helps in knowing how well the enumerators are performing, because if they are not trained, the whole process goes haywire. It makes no sense to have the questionnaires done when the people who are collecting it are not well trained. So the information might be useless to you. Okay, so I hope this topic is clear. Now we move on to the next, which is how to construct a questionnaire or a schedule. So like I told you, a questionnaire or a schedule we are discussing here. Questionnaire is basically a term used when you're mailing it, and a schedule is the term used when you are getting it filled by the enumerators. So now we are learning why is it really important, or what is the idea behind constructing a questionnaire. Now like we know that we want to have the best questions so that the quality of information that we get from the respondents is the best. Okay, now here we'll say that construction of the questionnaire is not a random process, it's a specific art, it's a technical job, right? It cannot be done arbitrarily by anybody. You need to have proper skill, expertise and practice, and also knowledge of the area you're targeting, knowledge about the people you're targeting, so you know what kind of question will fetch me what kind of answer, right? um, this questionnaire is meant, what is it supposed to give you? It is meant to evoke the desired response from the informant. So whichever question is able to fetch the best response or the maximum response or the most quality information from the respondents is a good question, and we need to have a set of such good questions to be formed in the questionnaire, whether it is mailed or whether it is filled by the enumerator. Now we will learn what are the major principles that are to be followed while drafting the whole questionnaire. Okay, and then we will learn, we'll see how a specimen of a questionnaire looks like. Okay, so we'll start with the first two principles. Um, Principles means the guidelines that you need to follow, or the instructions that you are being taught here, that how to frame or how to start thinking about a questionnaire and how to frame it properly. The first one is to have a covering letter. Now what do you mean by the cover letter? A cover letter is basically an introduction of what the questionnaire is all about, and what is the objective, why do you want to get it filled by them, and basically a request to them so that they fill it up with utmost sincerity. Okay, so it should clearly explain the objectives and the scope of the survey. It should also you should also ensure the respondents that their information will be confidential. It is very important, otherwise they'll not reveal the information. Okay, so in case it's a mailing method, so then a cover letter should be there attached to the link which you are sending to the respondents. And you could also be offering free gifts or vouchers for filling up the questionnaire. You could also be saying that this is what generally people do, that fill up this feedback form or fill up this form and get 100 rupees voucher or get 10% discount on a purchase of something and something. So that's how you can give incentives to your respondents to fill up the information as quickly as possible, because they might delay it, as you know it's a time consuming process for them. So they don't want to prioritize such activities, so for that you have to give such incentives. So this is how a covering letter is to be framed. The next one is, now you need to decide what kind of questions do you want to have in your questionnaire. You could have only one type of question or all type of questions, depending on what your objective is. The first one is a simple alternative. Simple alternative means you're asking a question with two alternate answers, like true, false, yes, no. Like I'm asking, do you have a car? Yes or no. That's an alternative question. It's a simple question. Okay. The second one is an MCQ. MCQ, multiple choice questions. You know these kind of questions already. It's basically a question with choices that so you can select either one, or you also have the option of selecting multiple options. So it really depends on the kind of question it is, like what which social media platforms are you active on, and there will be like 15-20 options there, so you could choose 5, 6, 7, whichever platforms you're active on, or just one because you're active on only one, or none of the above. Or a very typical MCQ is having 4 options. So it's like, how do you normally reach your office? A, by walking, B, by bus, C, by two-wheeler, or D, by car. So you could choose any of them. Of course, you will not be choosing multiple here because you'll take one. So they're assuming that you're commuting by one mode of transport. That's MCQ for you. The third one is a specific information. It's generally more related to personal information, like are you married, or how long have you been married, or what's your date of birth. So this is the specific information that you are targeting on. The last one is the interesting one. It's basically that the first three are pretty much structured questions. The last one is an unstructured question because it's an open-ended. That means there is no fixed answer to it. The answer really depends on the respondent. Like a question is, in your opinion, how can the problem of unemployment be solved, or has the recent policy of Jan Dhan Yojana been successful in a particular in your area. So it's open ended, it's opinion based, and it really depends on the respondent how he answers that question, because you cannot fix a particular answer to it, or choices to it. So it's an open-ended, it's kind of a descriptive question. These are more or less objective. This one is a descriptive question. Okay. So these are the first two principles. Let's move on to the next principles. So these are the next principles that we are going to discuss. First two we have already discussed. This is the third one, number of questions. That means should it be a high number or a low number? It should be a low number, as low as possible. That means the minimum number of questions giving the maximum amount of information. I'm repeating, minimum number of questions giving maximum amount of information. So whenever somebody is inquiring something with you, he is very specific about, very crisp about his or her questions, and he will know within 2-3 questions whether you are aware of something or not. This generally happens in practical exams also. So the practical examiner also restricts himself to a limited number of questions, because they don't want to spend too much time on one person. Now here the purpose is that the respondents don't have much time to give, right? They don't have the patience, they don't want to spend so much time. So we will give them very limited questions which they can fill up, and also those questions should be simple and short. You're dealing with people who may be educated, who may be illiterate, depending, of course, whether you're mailing or you're getting it filled by the enumerator. You are targeting a lot of people coming from different backgrounds. They might face difficulty in understanding what you're trying to say. So depending on your target population, you should keep the questions very simple and short. They will be happy to answer, right? Then the fifth one is avoid calculative questions. For example, instead of asking yearly income, ask them monthly income, because they're easily able to tell you. They can ascertain their monthly income. Okay, this is what I'm earning this month. but for yearly income they might have to calculate. This is specifically I'm talking about like businesses, small businesses. So it's easier for people to tell you a small piece of information. It's difficult for them to calculate it on a bigger picture. Okay. Then we come to the last for this fourth point in this uh, sheet. We still have more principles to go. The sixth point here is avoid double negatives. That means don't complicate the questions by putting extra negatives to it. Like example here, don't you think, don't is the first negative. Don't you think smoking should be prohibited? Second negative. Now this complicates the question. Instead you could ask, do you think smoking should be prohibited? There's only a single negative, easier, simpler to understand. So make the questions simple again. Okay, avoid having double negatives in a particular question. Okay, so these are the four more principles. Now we're discussing next principles. Next we come to the seventh principle, which is no personal questions. Now there are some questions which can hurt the sentiments of your respondent, your informant, so it's better not to ask such questions. It could be a very personal question, like you just asked a question, are you what is your marital status, right? You put MCQ over it, single, married, divorced. These are the options that you've given. This is fine, this question is fine. The next question you asked, if divorced, why? That's a very personal question. Put such questions only if it is really necessary for your study. Maybe you're studying law or something, so don't ask questions unless it is absolutely necessary, and avoid personal questions. It should be absolutely prohibited. Those questions should not be used. Then the next one is avoid leading questions. What are leading questions? That means question which in itself tells you what to answer. Like I ask you the question that you're supposed to answer on sustainable development. So you say that as the need of the hour says, sustainable development is very important and must be taken seriously. This is how you start the question, and then you say, do you support sustainable development? It is very obvious when you have already said that it is the need of the hour, it is important, then the respondent will say, yes, I support it. What do you really expect the respondent to say no? So don't put such questions which are rhetorical in nature. I mean, where you already know the answer, or where you've already told them the answer, that this is what I want from you. So that's not the purpose of this questionnaire. Then the next one is the questions should be logically arranged. Logically arranged means first you've asked the person his income, and what how does he spend it, and all of that, and every detail about the money aspect of it. And then at the end you're asking whether he's employed or not. It makes no sense to ask that at the end, right? You have to ask it in the beginning. Or you've asked the questions about their siblings, how is the relationship with their siblings and all of that, and in the end you say whether do you have a sibling or not. That's really stupid to have those questions at the end. So logically arranged, ask the right question first and then the following up question later. The next one is proper division and subdivision of questions. This is more related to the presentation, so that the person who is filling it is it's only to make it convenient for the person who is filling the questionnaire, that okay, now there are some basically topics in each questionnaire, and now I will be focusing on the expenditure part, now I will be focusing on the emotional aspect. So there are different heads that you can have, and multiple questions below those heads. So you can divide those questions in different categories, so that the person is mentally prepared of what's coming ahead. Next principle is proper instructions should be given to the informant. As we've already discussed this, very clear and definite instructions about filling the questionnaires should be given, right? In fact, you could also send a sample filled questionnaire that this is how people fill it. So you know, you should so that they're able to understand, okay, this is how I'm supposed to fill it. So make it very convenient, very easy for them, so that they give you the best of information. We have some more principles. These are the last few principles. The first one is cross examination. Now, despite of the efforts that you have made to make questionnaire effective, simple, best of its quality, and but still you cannot ensure that there's no 100% assurity that the respondent will give you honest answer. So for that, you can put questions which are cross examining each other, so that you know the validity of the respondent's answers. Example, you could ask his age in the beginning, and then later on you could ask the date of birth. So from there you can match whether the person was telling you the truth or not. So you could have 2 or 3 questions related to each other, telling you the same, giving you the same information. They are just asked differently to the respondent, just to make sure that the respondent is speaking the truth. The 13th one, very simple, it should be attractive. Like whether you're getting it filled through an enumerator or through mail, the printing, the look of the questionnaire should be attractive. You know, it's just to make sure that the focus remains intact and the person is highly interested in answering in reading those questions. Then the last one, which we've already discussed, is pre-testing. Very necessary, very important. The pilot survey, like I told you, after framing the entire questionnaire, you need to conduct a pilot survey to make sure that it is free of errors or complications. Also to make sure that people are comfortable filling it online, or your enumerators are well trained. Okay. Now I will be sharing few specimen questions. Anyway, I have discussed a lot of them, and this will be your assignment for today, that you have to frame a questionnaire with all types of questions, at least 2 of each type. This will be your assignment for today, which I will be sending via email. So I have an idea. I will show you the specimen questionnaire in the next class. For now, I will let you have your own ideas. You can basically frame your own questionnaire, and then in the next class you can verify whether you did it right or wrong. And also you will be sending your assignment, scanned assignment, to me via email. This is the assignment that you have to do. You have to frame total 8 questions. Your topic will be awareness on COVID-19. You will have 2 questions which are specific, 2 alternative, 2 MCQs, and 2 open-ended questions. So total of 8 questions in your questionnaire. Frame it with the topic awareness on COVID-19. Your objective is to know whether people are aware about this disease or its preventive measures. So you could change the topic a bit, that is fine. You could have a different topic, not a problem for me, but have the topic related to current affairs only. A recent news से ही related होना चाहिए वो topic, not any bookish topic. Okay, so that's your assignment for today, and in the next class I will be discussing the sample questions with you, and also we will move on to the last topic, which is the secondary data. Okay, then bye bye everyone, take care.